What a great speech that was from my colleague, Matt Bennett, but he did miss one thing out. He pointed out that the only people that could expect a golden decade would be the rats and the gangsters. He, of course, forgot to mention the management consultants who are being paid a fortune by this administration to fix your mistakes. But as we carry on talking about this train crash of a budget, and it's not really a budget anyway, is it, actually? I mean, look, you've had since last July, 7 or 8 months to come up with a budget. And you finally, in all this crisis, you took 7 or 8 months to produce a budget, and it finally came out, 5 days ago? And it still doesn't really add up in the true sense of a budget, in that we had to make 300 million of savings. You've only managed to identify about half or so of those. And the budget only balances because you've put in place a rolling line of credit with the UK government, where you might have to, and it depends on how many asset sales we're successful in making, and you then have to borrow money at a premium rate to make the budget balance. So it's kind of a rather suspicious budget, to say the least. But look, let's reflect upon what it is that's caused the situation. And it's strange, isn't it, that the very infrastructure that has got us into this disastrous situation is the same infrastructure that we expect is going to take us out of it. I mean, I'm thinking back about my time as a councillor over 10 years and all the times we've said we're going to make savings. And I'm struggling to think of a single occasion when this council has succeeded in making the savings that it planned. And generally, we were talking about 50 million or 60 million or 70 million, and we missed a 70 million target last year. And now we're expecting this same infrastructure to deliver a 300 million saving. Well, you could understand why the public might be cautious in thinking that might happen or not. And at the top of this infrastructure, of course, is the same leadership that we've had before. And the problem is that we simply don't have the quality of leadership. It's the same people circulating, or largely the same people circulating around. And we need leaders that have that rare quality of being able to see the big picture, but still have a grasp on detail. And if we look at the two big things recently that have caused the situation that we're in, it's the equal pay and Oracle. And both of these could have been solved if we had leaders at the top who had a grasp on the detail. The equal pay requires you, whether you agree with the daft legislation or not, the fact is it is the legislation. We have to recognise that it's there. And what's required, having learnt the lesson from the previous equal pay situation, what was required to put in place the job evaluation scheme? And yet you just didn't do it. And you knew you had to do it. It's perfectly possible to do it. But for some reason, the leadership, notwithstanding the fact that we were telling them that they'd had to be put in place, just failed to do it. Likewise with Oracle, it's always going to be a difficult implementation to put a finance system into a big organisation like this. But we knew the things that you shouldn't do. We knew you shouldn't go live without proper testing. We knew you shouldn't attempt to bespoke the system. And yet nobody on the cabinet had sufficient grasp of the detail to see these things unfolding and stop them happening. And so I come back to my initial point that we're looking to the same infrastructure to deliver when it is that very infrastructure that has so spectacularly failed. Right? And at the top of that is the quality of leadership, which at the moment, I'm afraid, we just don't have. Can we at least agree one thing, right? That going forward, there is at least a chance that this council might come out a leaner, fitter, more focused and more efficient organisation. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, let us agree that what council should do is do a lot less than this council attempts to do, but what it does, it should do really well. So going forward, let's stop this absurd war that you seem to be waging against motorists. Let's stop blowing £1 million a year. It's £1 million a year on diversity officers and diversity schemes. Let's stop these crazy ideas pretending that a council, and this council above all councils, can operate in a commercial environment. Let's not build housing schemes in Perry Bar, thinking that we can do a better job than commercial builders, and then end up in a situation where not only did we not house a single athlete, which was the raison d'etre for building it, we're now in a situation where the market value of the properties that we've built is worth less than the building cost. So let's stop this idea that we can function as in a commercial environment, because we just ain't remotely good enough to do that. Thank you, Lord Mayor.